Hey guys, this is Naman. I'm the founder of Reference and we are building a market network for freelancers and agencies. Today, we are going to talk about the timing of your startup. Have you ever wondered why similar looking startups all launch at the same time? Why did all the Groupon clones launch around 2009 and 10? Why did all the cab hailing companies start around 2012-13? Why did e-commerce companies start in 2007-8? What is going on? Did all these people actually get the idea at the same time and they all had the courage of building it at the same time? Or are we just finding patterns where they don't exist? So let's look at it from the VC's perspective. What happens when you go and pitch your idea to a VC? They are basically judging whether the idea is worth pursuing right now. As in, are the market situations conducive enough that you can actually create that solution? And B, is there a real demand and will that demand grow? Are there tailwinds that are pushing the demand forward? Now let's look at an example of a cab hailing company, something like a Ola, Taxiforsure, or Uber. When these companies launched at around 2010, 11, 12 is when all these companies launched. Was there no need of cab hailing companies before that? There was definitely a need. Nothing changed from the consumer's perspective. What changed around that time is the adoption of smartphones. Before that moment of iPhone getting launched and Android getting popular, it was not possible for a driver or even a consumer to order a cab on a phone because the data networks were costly, there were no smartphones, the smartphone adoption was low. But once these problems were solved, it was possible to create a cab hailing company. And that is why you will see that all these startups launched around that time. The second reason, now again, looking at from the VC's perspective, if one VC understands that, okay, the market is conducive enough to support a startup in this domain, other VCs will also get encouraged to, fund similar startups. And that is why you'll see all these startups coming at around the same time. And after, a few years of these startups have launched, what happens suddenly is the perception of the market will reduce. As in, my understanding of TAM will be very clear. It's like, the more layers of onion you peel, the lesser you will have inside, right? So that is what happens when you experience the service for the first time. You'll think that, okay, maybe the whole world needs this. But as the years pass, you will realize the TAM is not as large as you had imagined on day one. And it is slowly building up. From the consumer's perspective also, you have to see if there is some event that is moving this whole demand forward. As in, there are tailwinds that is making the market larger. So for example, if you were building, say, a payments app, right? And in 2016, UPAI was launched in India. Now, from this point onwards, the banks have opened up their APIs to make the transaction smoother. So now when you're launching a P2P payments company, maybe it is easier to do that because banks are letting you operate on the UPI network, right? Similarly, if you were to launch a battery recycling company, for example, now there has to be enough adoption in the electric vehicle domain for batteries to become, useless and then the whole recycling process to start, right? But if you launch, say, a battery recycling startup 10 years ago, maybe you wouldn't have enough demand for it. But if you do it today and you are prepared for what is going to happen in the battery domain for the next 10 years, then this timing would be perfect. So if you look at it from both the sides, A, is the market conducive enough for me to create that solution? The solution that I'm imagining on my pitch deck and in my head, is it really possible? B, is the market really asking for that service because there is a real underlying problem? Imagine if both these situations are not there, or even if one of these situations are not there, what would happen is you would need to incentivize either side, either the solution side or the demand side heavily. So if I am a bachelor living in Bangalore, I don't have a kitchen at my home, I'm living in one small room, then you don't need to incentivize me to make me eat food outside, right? Like a non-home cooked food. But if I'm living in a tier 3 town with my family, you would need to incentivize me heavily to make sure that I'm, ordering food from outside. Now, if depending on which market you are launching in and at what is your timing to launch, the incentives will differ. because the incentives will differ, the amount of capital required to make this whole thing work, that will change, right? And hence, whether the startup is possible or not possible gets defined at this moment. So this is how timing plays a crucial role in your startup idea. Hope you liked it. Let me know in the comments below.